The first time I realized my brother was still the villain, he was smiling at my fiancé. That should have been my warning. Cassian Valhart only smiled like that when someone had made a mistake expensive enough to become educational. The ballroom glittered around us, bright with candlelight, gold trim, and all the noble families who had gathered to celebrate my engagement to Lord Edwin Marcrest. Edwin was handsome. Edwin was wealthy. Edwin had excellent bloodlines, a respectable title, and the personal charm of a wet napkin that had somehow been knighted. He also had his fingers tightly locked around my wrist. Too tightly.
You will learn
Edwin said quietly, still smiling for the guests.
that a wife's first virtue is obedience.
I stared at him. Not because I was shocked. I had read enough noble romance novels to know that men like Edwin mistook marriage contracts for ownership papers. No, I stared, because part of me was trying to decide whether biting him would cause too much of a scene. Then the air changed. The musicians faltered, conversations thinned, and every survival instinct I possessed, including several I had not known I owned, stood at attention. Cassian had crossed the ballroom. He looked perfect, of course. He always did. Black hair swept neatly back, dark formal coat, silver cufflinks, white gloves. The sort of beauty that made people forget wolves could have excellent posture. He stopped beside us and glanced at Edwin's hand. Then he lifted his gaze and smiled.
Lord Marcrest,
He said, voice soft as falling snow.
remove your hand.
Edwin stiffened.
Lord Valhart, I was merely speaking with my fiancé.
Were you?
Cassian's smile warmed. The room grew colder. Edwin laughed, but it broke in the middle.
Surely you are not causing a scene over sibling sentiment.
Cassian reached out. He did not yank Edwin's hand away. He did not shove him. He simply placed two gloved fingers over Edwin's wrist and applied enough pressure that the man's face drained of color. Edwin released me. Cassian stepped between us with the calm grace of a man closing a door.
Unfortunately, my sister has never liked cages.
A ripple moved through the room. Edwin's pride rallied faster than his common sense.
You speak boldly for someone who is only her brother.
Cassian looked pleased. That was worse.
Yes, that is the role she trusted me with.
My breath caught, because that was not a brother's answer. That was a confession dressed in etiquette. And as Cassian turned his head slightly, his gray eyes meeting mine with all the tenderness he had ever shown me, I finally understood. I had not stopped Cassian Valhart from becoming dangerous. I had only taught him where to hide the knife. Years earlier, I woke in a bed large enough to host a diplomatic summit. The ceiling above me was painted with gold clouds, saintly figures, and enough expensive blue pigment to make my old-world bank account cry from beyond the grave. A maid leaned over me and said,
Lady Lisa, are you feeling unwell?
that was how I discovered three things. First, I had transmigrated. Second, I was 8 years old. Third, I had become Lisa Valhart, the adopted daughter of the Duke of Valhart and the disposable younger sister of the future final villain. The novel was called The Thorned Crown. In the original story, Saintess Eleonora saved the kingdom from corruption, betrayal, cursed magic, and Cassian Valhart. Cassian was beautiful, brilliant, and terrifying. Cassian Valhart was the Duke's son, the heir the family feared as much as they valued. His rare shadow magic made him useful, dangerous, and impossible to discard. So they did something worse than abandon him. They kept him close, raised him coldly, and treated their own child like a weapon they were responsible for polishing. They isolated him, punished him, used him, feared him, and eventually, he became exactly what everyone insisted he already was: a monster. Not the loud kind. Cassian never needed to scream. He ruined people with documents, whispers, contracts, and smiles. He destroyed noble houses so thoroughly that survivors thanked him for leaving them furniture. Original Lisa, the body I had somehow inherited, was not important enough to be a true character. She was a footnote, a fragile adopted sister who avoided Cassian, feared him, and died somewhere in the wreckage of the Valhart family's collapse. Her death became another little brick in the road that led Cassian toward villainy. A decorative corpse, a plot garnish, a tragic seasoning. Absolutely not, I thought as I sat upright in that ridiculous bed, clutched my silk blanket, and whispered the most sacred vow of my second life. I refuse to be character development. The maid blinked.
My lady,
Nothing. I'm just having a personal growth moment, I assured her. But she still looked worried, which was fair. I was 8 and talking like a haunted motivational poster. But I had already decided on my survival plan. If Cassian became the villain, because no one loved him, then I would love him first. If he became cruel, because everyone treated him like a monster, then I would treat him like a person. If he became the final boss, because the world sharpened him into a blade, then I would throw myself into the forge with snacks, stubbornness, and the emotional wisdom of someone who had read far too many fantasy novels at 3 in the morning. The plan was simple: save the villain, survive the story, preferably avoid being murdered for atmosphere. I met Cassian 3 days later in a cold hallway. He was 11, too thin, too quiet, too composed for a child who had clearly been locked out of a room as punishment. His black hair fell unevenly around his face, and his gray eyes looked at the world with the suspicion of someone who had already learned kindness came with hooks. I was carrying stolen pastries. Or, rather, borrowed pastries? No, strategically relocated pastries. Okay, fine. They were totally stolen when the kitchen staff wasn't looking. Cassian stared at the plate, and I stared at him. This was the future villain, the kingdom's nightmare, the boy who would one day manipulate princes and topple dukes. But currently, he looked hungry. I held out a honey tart and said, "You look like you need this more than I do." He looked at the tart like it might explode.
What do you want?
Ouch! That was not a child's question. That was a contract negotiation wearing baby teeth. I want, I said, to not eat all of these alone and make myself sick. He did not move. I added, "Also, if you bite me, I'll bite back." For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Not trust, not yet, but interest. That was enough. He took the tart, carefully, like someone might punish him for wanting it. That was the first crack in my heart. Not romantic, not dramatic, just furious. Because no child should look surprised by food. So I sat beside him in the cold hallway and ate pastries with the future villain. Then I pointed at him with a jam biscuit and said, "You and I are going to be friends."
No,
"Yes."
no.
"Counter-argument," I said while taking a bite. "Yes." He stared at me as if I were the strangest creature he had ever encountered. Good. Confusion was better than loneliness. After that, I began my campaign. Not a grand campaign, I was 8. My resources included access to the kitchen's small legs and the ability to weaponize innocent eyes when adults asked why I was somewhere I should not be. I fed him when servants forgot his meals. I sat with him when tutors isolated him. I defended him when adults called him unstable. One day, a tutor accused Cassian of lying about finishing an advanced magical theory book. I found the notes in Cassian's own handwriting and slapped them on the table with all the righteous fury of a tiny lawyer. He read it, I said. The tutor frowned.
Lady Lisa, this is not your concern.
It is, if you call my brother a liar. Cassian froze. Brother. No one used that word for him unless they wanted something, but I meant it. Legally, I was the adopted daughter of House Valhart. Cassian was the heir, not my blood. Not truly my brother by birth. But in noble society, paperwork could build cages just as well as blood could. And I had decided that if this house was going to weaponize family, then I would too. Just in the opposite direction. When a training master pushed Cassian past exhaustion and called it discipline, I marched into the courtyard and shouted, "Stop hitting my brother!" The master looked at me like I had sprouted antlers. Cassian looked at me like I had done something worse, something dangerous, something irreversible. He asked me later, very quietly,
Why do you keep defending me?
because they keep being wrong.
Everyone says I am wrong.
Maybe everyone is lazy. His eyes lifted to mine. I folded my arms and tried to look wise, which was difficult while wearing lace socks. Maybe they decided what you were before they knew you, and now they only look for proof. Cassian said nothing, but something changed that day. I thought I had planted hope. Cassian had heard something else. Lisa sees me. Lisa defends me. Lisa calls me brother. Therefore, Lisa is mine to protect. Neither of us understood yet how dangerous that would become. Children learn quickly. Lonely children learn faster. And Cassian Valhart learned with terrifying precision. At first, I thought I was teaching him kindness. That sounds noble. It was not. I was teaching him survival, empathy, emotional expression, and, possibly, how not to become a mass political disaster. Completely normal childhood enrichment. When Cassian frightened servants, I frowned. When he used words instead of shadows, I praised him. When he helped me reach books on high shelves, I smiled. When he walked me through the garden and explained which flowers were poisonous, I listened. That last one should have concerned me more. But I was touched. He wanted to share hobbies. Over time, Cassian changed. Around others, he remained quiet, controlled, polite in the way locked doors are polite. But around me, he became gentle. He saved me the last honey tart. He walked me to breakfast after a cousin insulted me. He corrected my cloak when winter wind slipped through the collar. He carried books without being asked. He learned that I liked it when he asked.
Did you eat?
He learned that I trusted him when he stood between me and unpleasant people. He learned that I smiled when he played the part of a perfect older brother. And Cassian loved cause and effect. Lisa smiles when I am gentle. Lisa stays when I behave. Lisa reaches for me when I protect her. Therefore, I will be gentle. I will behave. I will protect her perfectly. Everyone said I saved him. The Duke praised me for stabilizing Cassian, which was a disgusting word to use for a child. The Duchess smiled whenever Cassian obeyed after I touched his sleeve. The servants whispered that Lord Cassian was less frightening when Lady Lisa was near. I was proud, relieved, a little smug, honestly. I thought I had changed the story. I had no idea Cassian had simply rewritten his villainy in smaller handwriting. By the time I was 15 and Cassian was 18, he had become the most admired young lord in the capital. Beautiful, brilliant, untouchably composed. He could silence a room by entering it and make noble women blush by remembering their names. He wore kindness like an expertly tailored coat. Everyone saw elegance. I saw my brother, my first friend in that strange world, my proof that love could change fate. What I did not see were the coincidences. The cruel maid who mocked my adoption was dismissed after stolen jewelry appeared in her trunk. The riding instructor who shouted until I cried was exposed for taking bribes. The tutor who called Cassian monstrous retired early after his debts became public. A girl who invited me to tea only to mock me canceled the party because her family's smuggling business was suddenly discovered. Suitors who showed interest in me, they became busy. Very busy. One left for the border. One entered the priesthood. One got engaged to a widow twice his age and looked haunted at the announcement. I asked Cassian about that one. He sipped his tea and said,
Love is mysterious.
Cassian,
Yes?
did you do something? He looked at me with mild offense.
Lisa, I do many things.
That is not an answer.
It is the most honest one.
I should have worried. Instead, I laughed because Cassian was dramatic, because older brothers were protective, because I wanted to believe the wolf I had raised was only baring his teeth at shadows. Then came Victor. Victor Valhart was a cousin from a branch family. He arrived at the estate with 3 trunks, a smug mouth, and the moral texture of spoiled cream. He disliked me immediately, probably because I ignored him, possibly because Cassian did not. For 3 days, Victor treated me like a decorative stain on the family crest. At breakfast, he asked whether adopted children inherited anything besides pity. At luncheon, he wondered aloud whether my birth family had sold me. At tea, he said girls without bloodlines should be grateful when noble houses kept them as ornaments. I had survived customer service in my past life. Victor was an amateur. So I smiled, sipped my tea, and imagined him falling into a fountain. Unfortunately, Cassian was beside me, and Cassian heard everything. His teacup touched its saucer without a sound. That was the first warning. Cassian was always quiet, but when he became completely silent, the room seemed to lose oxygen. Victor leaned back and smiled at me.
I suppose even a decorative stray has value if trained properly.
Cassian looked at him. Just looked. Victor faltered. I reached under the table and pinched Cassian's sleeve. A warning, a plea, a reminder. Do not. Cassian's gaze dropped to my hand. His expression softened. Then he looked back at Victor and smiled.
Cousin, Lisa dislikes unnecessary cruelty.
Victor laughed.
And you obey your little sister now.
Cassian's smile warmed.
Fortunately, I have always been fond of necessary measures.
I choked on my tea. Victor laughed weakly. Cassian handed me a napkin. Perfect brother, perfect manners, perfect menace. That evening, I cornered him in the library. You cannot say things like that. Cassian looked up from his book.
Like what?
Necessary measures.
It was accurate,
It sounded threatening.
only to someone with a guilty conscience.
Cassian. He closed the book. The lamplight softened his face until he almost looked like the lonely boy from the hallway again.
What would you have me do, Lisa?
Not threaten people.
He insulted you.
I survived. His eyes cooled.
You should not have to survive breakfast.
That stopped me, because he was right. Victor's words were not harmless. In noble society, words became rumors, rumors became reputations, and reputations became cages. But still, I said, you cannot destroy everyone who hurts my feelings. Cassian watched me for a long moment. Then he smiled. I relaxed. That was a mistake. The next morning, Victor was gone. Officially, he had been called home for a family emergency. Unofficially, 3 scandals bloomed overnight. Forged gambling papers, cheating at academy examinations, a maid from another estate claiming he had promised marriage and abandoned her. By sunset, Victor's family was too busy salvaging its reputation to remember I existed. I found Cassian in the rose garden, trimming dead blooms with silver shears. Even the symbolism in this world needed subtlety lessons. Did you do it? I asked. Cassian clipped a wilted rose.
Do what?
Victor.
I'm not into men.
You know what I meant.
Victor made many poor choices.
That is not an answer.
It is a fact.
Cassian. He turned to me, calm and beautiful, and entirely untroubled.
He wanted you small.
He annoyed me.
He wanted you small.
He repeated. The words struck harder the second time. Cassian stepped closer.
I will not let anyone make you small.
I should have been horrified. Some part of me was. But another part, the softer and more treacherous part, felt protected, special, chosen. I looked away first. Do not do anything worse, I whispered. Cassian bowed his head.
As you wish.
I thought that meant he would stop. What Cassian heard was much more specific. Do not do anything worse. So he learned precision. No blood, no public violence, no mess where Lisa could see. My wolf was learning manners. I mistook it for mercy. The original novel began properly in the spring of my 17th year. Saintess Eleonora arrived in the capital. Golden hair, gentle eyes, divine healing power. The sort of heroine who could smile at a wounded bird and accidentally gain a loyal army. In the original story, Eleonora exposed Cassian's crimes, softened the prince's heart, and became the moral center of the kingdom. In my timeline, things were different. Cassian was not the kingdom's obvious monster. He had no public trail of cruelty, no exiled reputation, no shadowy rumors beyond the usual noble fear of competent men with excellent cheekbones. He was admired, respected, wanted. And because society adored a beautiful man who knew exactly when to bow, no one believed danger could have such polished gloves. At a temple garden party, I saw Eleonora for the first time. The moment her gaze landed on Cassian, she froze. Not with admiration, with fear. Cassian noticed. Of course he noticed. He stood beside me, one hand lightly resting near my elbow without touching, and smiled across the garden. Eleonora went pale. My stomach sank. She knew, or dreamed, or sensed something divine and inconvenient. Later, she found me near a fountain shaped like swans, because this kingdom could not even decorate water without emotional drama.
Lady Lisa, may I speak with you?
I wanted to say no, but I said yes. She folded her hands in front of her.
You love your brother.
He is my family.
I believe you.
That made me pause. Eleonora did not sound accusing. She sounded sad.
I have dreams. Not always clear ones, but I dreamed of Lord Cassian before I met him.
My fingers tightened around my fan. What did you dream?
A room full of broken glass, blood on white gloves, people afraid to breathe, and him smiling as if nothing in the world could touch him. I do not know what he is in this life. I only know what I felt when I saw him.
He is not what people think.
I hope that is true.
It is.
Then I hope you changed more than what he shows.
The words slipped under my ribs. I wanted to argue. Instead, I thought of Victor, the dismissed servants, the ruined tutors, the suitors who vanished before I knew them, the quiet ways my life had become easier, softer, safer. Too safe, too arranged. Eleanor stepped closer.
You think you saved him.
I did.
What if you taught him to hide?
A shadow crossed the grass. We both turned. Cassian stood at the garden path, beautiful, composed, smiling.
Saintess, I hope I am not interrupting.
Eleonora's face went white. Cassian looked only at me.
There you are, Lisa. I was beginning to worry.
His voice was soft and warm, familiar, safe. And for the first time in years, safety felt like a question. After Eleanor's warning, I started noticing things. Cassian always arrived quickly, too quickly. If I was uncomfortable at a ball, he appeared with tea. If a noblewoman insulted me behind a fan, her invitation to the next event vanished. If a man asked for too many dances, Cassian already knew his debts, weaknesses, family secrets, and preferred wine. Once, I complained that a political theory book gave me a headache. By the next morning, the library had acquired 6 romance novels, 3 adventure journals, and a poetry collection so dramatic it should have come with a fainting couch. That should have been sweet. It was sweet. That was the problem. My world had become a garden with invisible walls. I could walk anywhere as long as Cassian had cleared the path. I could speak to anyone as long as Cassian had judged them safe. I could make choices as long as he had quietly removed the worst options before I saw them. Then Duke Valhart summoned me. My adoptive father sat behind a dark desk, the Duchess beside him like a frost sculpture with earrings. They told me Lord Edwin Marcrest had asked for my hand. Powerful family, useful alliance, excellent title, no significant scandals. A perfect match. My stomach turned. Edwin had always made my skin crawl. He smiled too widely, listened too little, and looked at me the way collectors looked at rare porcelain. I said, "May I consider it?" The Duke's expression cooled.
There is little to consider. This match benefits the family.
There it was, family. That warm word nobles loved to sharpen. The Duchess added,
You are fortunate, Lisa. Adopted daughters are not always offered such security.
I lowered my eyes. Yes, Mother. I hated how easily old survival habits returned. Smile, obey, avoid becoming inconvenient. That evening, Cassian found me in the library. He always found me. I was staring at the same page for 10 minutes when he entered.
Lisa,
I closed the book. He stopped in front of me.
do you want this match?
I laughed weakly. That is complicated.
No, it is not.
His voice was soft. I looked up. Cassian's expression was calm, but his eyes were not.
Do you want him?
My throat tightened. It is probably best for the family. Cassian went very still. Then he smiled. Not his gentle smile, not his brother's smile. The other one, the smile from Eleonora's dream.
That was not what I asked.
I stood too quickly. Cassian?
Answer me.
You are scaring me. The words escaped before I could stop them. Everything in him changed. The cold vanished so quickly, I almost doubted I had seen it. He stepped back. His face softened.
I am sorry.
That was worse, because he meant it, because he cared, because the danger in him bent instantly when it touched my fear. He lowered his head.
I did not intend that.
I wrapped my arms around myself. I know. And I did know. Cassian never wanted me afraid, but wanting and doing were different.
If you tell me no, I will end it.
He said quietly. A chill moved through me. End the engagement.
Yes.
How? His silence answered. I whispered, you can't just remove every problem. Cassian looked at me with something almost tender.
Of course I can.
The worst part was that he was not boasting. He was stating a fact. I did not tell Cassian no. That was my mistake. Or maybe my cowardice. Or maybe the last desperate reflex of a girl who had survived one life by trying not to trouble anyone. The engagement banquet was held 2 weeks later. The ballroom glittered. The guests smiled. The Duke looked satisfied. The Duchess wore diamonds and approval. Edwin stood beside me like a man admiring furniture he had already purchased. Cassian watched from across the room. Not openly, never openly, but I felt him. A storm in formal wear. Edwin leaned close while guests toasted our future.
You seem tense.
I dislike crowds.
You will adjust.
I looked at him. He smiled down at me.
After marriage, you will have fewer distractions. Your brother has indulged you too much.
My hand tightened around my glass. Cassian has protected me.
Exactly.
Edwin's smile sharpened.
But husbands outrank brothers.
My stomach dropped. Then his fingers closed around my wrist. Too tight.
You will learn that a wife's first virtue is obedience.
And that was where the story began. Cassian crossed the ballroom. The musicians faltered. The nobles quieted. My brother, my knight, my velvet-coated wolf with excellent posture, stopped beside us and smiled at the man holding my wrist.
Lord Marcrest, remove your hand.
Edwin tried to laugh. Cassian touched his wrist. Edwin released me. Cassian stepped between us.
Unfortunately, my sister has never liked cages.
Edwin's face twisted.
You are only her brother.
Cassian smiled.
Yes, that is the role she trusted me with.
This time, I heard everything under the words: the patience, the possessiveness, the years of restraint, the truth. Brother was not what Cassian felt. Brother was the doorway I had left open, and he had been standing inside it ever since, waiting. By morning, Edwin Marcrest was ruined. Not injured, not missing, not dead. Ruined! Documents appeared in the hands of the crown, the temple, and 3 rival noble houses. Bribes, illegal labor contracts, hidden debts, treasonous correspondence with a border faction. The Marcrest estate was seized before breakfast. The engagement dissolved before luncheon. By dinner, Edwin's mother had fainted twice. His father had been arrested, and Edwin himself was reportedly sobbing into a travel cloak while being escorted to a remote holding estate. No blood, no screams, no visible knife. Just Cassian's preferred kind of devastation. Clean, elegant, educational. I sat in my room, staring at the annulment notice. He had not investigated overnight. He could not have. No one assembled that much evidence in a few hours. Cassian had prepared it for weeks, months, maybe years. Not only for Edwin, for anyone who might try to take me. That thought should not have felt like a hand closing around my heart, but it did. I found Cassian in his study. He was standing by the window, reading a letter. Morning light touched his face, turning him almost angelic. Deceptive. No one should look that serene after dismantling a noble family before tea. He looked up when I entered.
Lisa,
Did you ruin him because of me? Cassian set the letter down.
no.
The answer came smoothly. Too smoothly. I stared at him. He continued.
I ruined him because he deserved it.
My hands curled into fists. Would you have done it if he had not touched me? Cassian paused, then smiled faintly.
Eventually,
There it was. The truth without decoration. My breath shook. How long have you been preparing?
for Marcrest specifically,
My stomach sank. Cassian.
a year.
I gripped the edge of a chair. A year?
He was arrogant, cruel, and careless. Men like that eventually reach for things they have no right to touch.
Things, I repeated. Cassian's eyes softened.
You,
I flinched. Pain crossed his face, immediate and real. He stepped forward, then stopped himself. Good. At least he still knew how to stop. Have you been lying to me? I asked.
no.
You expect me to believe that?
Yes,
His calm infuriated me. All these years, the perfect brother, the gentle protector, the knight in shining armor. Was any of it real? For the first time, his composure cracked. Only a little. Enough.
all of it.
Then why does it feel like a trap? His jaw tightened.
Because you have finally noticed the walls.
Silence. The words fell between us like glass. Cassian looked away first.
When you found me in that hallway, I was angry enough to burn this house down someday.
My throat closed.
You gave me food. You defended me. You called me brother when everyone else called me unstable, useful, dangerous.
He looked back at me.
You taught me the world did not need to burn.
For one foolish second, hope sparked. Then he finished.
Because you are in it.
My hope went very still. Cassian's voice softened.
I chose you, Lisa. Not virtue, not peace, not this family. You.
I whispered. That is not healthy. His mouth curved, but there was no humor in it.
No.
At least he knew. That almost made it worse. I forced the words out. I am not yours. Cassian looked at me for a long time. Then he said, very gently,
I know.
the relief hit first, then suspicion. His gaze lowered to my hands, trembling against the chair.
That is why I have been so patient.
My heart forgot how to behave. Patient for what? Cassian's expression became heartbreakingly soft.
For you to choose me without fear.
I hated him a little in that moment. Not because he was cruel, because he was not. It was because beneath the obsession and control and terrifying patience, there was still the boy with cold hands and hungry eyes. The boy I had fed, the boy I had saved, the man who had built an entire world around me and somehow failed to understand that a garden could become a cage, even if every flower was chosen with love. I need to leave, I said. Cassian went still. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then he nodded.
Where will you go?
That was not the response I expected. I don't know.
The temple is safest. Saintess Eleonora will receive you if you ask.
I stared. He crossed to his desk and opened a drawer.
There is a townhouse under your name in the Eastern District. I arranged the deed when you turned 16. You have funds independent of the family. I will assign guards, but they will not enter your rooms or report your private conversations unless you are in danger.
My mouth opened, closed, opened again. You already planned for this?
I planned for many things.
That is not comforting.
No, but it is useful.
I hated that he was right. I hated that he knew he was right. I hated most that part of me still wanted to run into his arms and let him fix everything. Cassian took a small key from the drawer and placed it on the desk. Then he stepped back. Not toward me, away, giving me space. I looked at the key. Are you letting me go? His eyes were gray and terrible and sad.
No, I am letting you choose whether to return.
I went to the temple. Eleonora received me without surprise. That was unsettling. Heroine instincts. Very inconvenient. For 3 weeks, I lived in a quiet guest wing with white curtains, soft bells, and the constant smell of incense. No one pressured me. No one mentioned marriage. No one called me ungrateful. Cassian did not visit. He sent letters. Short ones. Polite ones. The kind of letters an older brother could send without scandal.
Are you eating? Do you need warmer blankets? The temple garden has night-blooming flowers this season. You may like them.
I did not answer the first 3. On the 4th, I wrote back, "Stop asking if I ate." His reply arrived the next morning.
Did you?
I laughed, then cried, then hated him for making me do both. Eleonora found me in the garden later.
You miss him.
I am angry with him.
That was not what I said.
Heroine behavior was deeply annoying. I looked toward the temple pond. He's dangerous.
Yes.
He manipulated my life.
Yes.
He ruined people.
Yes.
He let me leave. Eleonora was silent. I looked at her. In your dreams, would he have done that? She thought for a long moment.
No.
The answer settled between us. Not forgiveness, not absolution, but difference. This Cassian was not the original villain. He was not harmless either. He had become something sharper and more controlled. a blade instead of a wildfire, and I was the hand he had chosen to rest beneath. That doesn't make it okay, I said.
No, but it may mean he can still choose.
I stared at the pond. Can still choose, huh? That was the horrible, hopeful thing. Cassian had chosen restraint before. Only when I asked, only when I watched. But he had chosen it. Could that matter? Should it? Did loving a dangerous person mean saving them, escaping them, or teaching them exactly where the lines were and refusing to let them pretend not to see? I did not have an answer. Then someone tried to kidnap me, which was inconvenient but clarifying. The men came at dusk, 4 of them. Temple guards were changing shifts, and the attackers moved with the confidence of people who had paid someone to look away. Their mistake was assuming I was soft because Cassian protected me. I was soft, but soft things could still scream. I threw a flower pot at the first man's face. He went down with a deeply satisfying crack. The second grabbed my arm. I bit him. Old instincts, but still effective. The third pressed a cloth over my mouth, and the world tilted. When I woke, I was in a carriage. My wrists were tied, my head hurt. Across from me sat a man I recognized from noble gatherings. Lord Ravel, a royal faction parasite who had once smiled at me for too long. He looked pleased. That was offensive.
You are worth quite a lot, Lady Lisa.
I blinked at him, then looked at the carriage window, then back. You kidnapped me to use against Cassian. His smile faltered.
You are calm.
No, I said. I am concussed. He frowned. I leaned back against the seat. You do realize this is a terrible idea.
Lord Valhart's influence has grown too quickly. Even wolves hesitate when their heart is in a snare.
I stared. Did you practice that? His expression soured. Before he could answer, the carriage stopped. Not slowed. Stopped. Violently. Someone outside screamed. Lord Ravel reached for the curtain. A shadow pierced through the wood beside his hand. He froze. The carriage door opened. Cassian stood outside. No smile, no softness, no mask. For the first time, I saw him exactly as the original novel must have. Terrifyingly calm, gloves dark with blood that might not have been his. Eyes cold enough to turn breath into frost. Every line of him said one thing. You touched what I protected. Now learn why that was fatal. Lord Ravel drew a dagger and grabbed me. Cassian's gaze moved to the blade at my throat. Everything went silent. I had never truly understood fear until I saw Cassian stop pretending to be human. Cassian, I said. His eyes flicked to mine. Just for a second. Don't kill him. Lord Ravel laughed shakily.
Listen to your sister, Valhart.
Cassian looked at him, then back at me. The moment stretched. This was the test. Not of whether Cassian loved me. That had never been in question. This was the test of whether love could become anything other than possession. Slowly, Cassian lowered his hand. The shadows withdrew. Lord Ravel sagged with relief. Idiot! Cassian smiled then. Small, polite, devastating.
As you wish, Lisa.
The carriage door was ripped off its hinges by one of Cassian's guards. Lord Ravel was dragged out alive. Not unharmed, but alive. Cassian untied my wrists himself. His hands were steady. Mine were not.
Are you hurt?
I looked at him. Blood on his gloves, concern in his eyes. a monster kneeling at my feet like a knight. Yes, I said, but not badly. His face went pale. That somehow frightened me more than the blood. He reached for me, then stopped, waiting, asking without words. I should have pulled away. Instead, I leaned forward. Cassian's arms closed around me. Careful, too careful, as if I were breakable, as if he were the dangerous thing in the room. Which, to be fair, he was. I whispered against his coat. I told you not to kill him.
I did not.
You wanted to.
Yes.
No denial, no pretty lie. Progress, perhaps. A very ominous kind of progress. After Lord Ravel's arrest, the royal faction collapsed with impressive speed. Not because Cassian killed anyone. He did not, technically. Instead, evidence poured into every important office in the capital. Treason, bribery, kidnapping, illegal enchantments, private letters revealing plots against the crown, the temple, and several people Cassian found mildly inconvenient. Lord Ravel survived. His reputation did not. I stayed at the temple for another week. Then I asked Cassian to visit. He arrived in a plain black carriage, without ceremony, without guards visible, and with a box of honey tarts. Manipulative, effective, annoying. We sat in the temple garden beneath flowering branches. For once, Cassian looked uncertain. It was subtle. A tension near his mouth, a stillness in his hands. But I knew him too well to miss it. Good. Let the wolf sweat a little. I cannot love someone who traps me, I said. His eyes lowered.
I know.
I cannot trust someone who arranges my life behind my back.
I know.
And I cannot be courted by a man hiding behind the word brother. Cassian looked at me then, fully. The air changed, not cold this time. Electric.
You understand what you are saying.
I understand what I am refusing. His face softened. I continued before courage fled out a window. If you want me, Cassian, then you ask as a man, not as my brother, not as my protector, not as the person who has already decided the answer. His voice was low.
And if your answer is no,
Then it is no. The words hurt him. I saw it. He accepted them anyway. That mattered. Maybe not enough, but it mattered. I lifted one finger. There are terms. Cassian's mouth curved slightly.
of course there are.
Do not look pleased.
I apologize.
You do not.
No.
I hated that I almost smiled. I held up my hand and counted. 1. You do not manipulate my choices. You can advise me. You can warn me. You can even argue. You do not remove options before I see them. His face remained calm.
Agreed.
2. You do not ruin people merely for approaching me. A pause.
Define approaching.
Cassian.
Agreed.
3. No killing unless there is no other choice.
Agreed.
That was too fast.
I have killed very few people,
Cassian.
fewer than rumored.
I rubbed my forehead. He looked almost amused. Terrible man. 4. If you make me afraid of you, I leave. The amusement vanished.
Agreed.
5. I get to say no. Cassian's expression softened into something raw.
Always.
Do not say that if you cannot mean it.
I mean it.
I studied him. The garden wind stirred his dark hair. He looked nothing like the boy in the hallway, yet he looked exactly like him. Lonely, careful, hungry for something he did not trust would stay. I lowered my hand. If I allow this, You court me properly. His voice turned very quiet.
If?
My face warmed. If. Cassian's eyes lit with the smallest, most dangerous kind of hope.
You did not say no.
You are not supposed to sound so victorious.
I am restraining myself.
Is that your restrained face?
With effort.
I looked away before he saw me smile. Too late. Cassian saw everything. He always had. The capital lost its collective mind when Cassian Valhart stopped pretending his devotion was brotherly. To be clear, we were not blood related. I had been adopted into the Valhart family, and noble law cared more about documents than sentiment. Still, society adored scandal the way ducks adored ponds. The whispers began immediately. Had Lord Cassian always loved Lady Lisa? Had Lady Lisa bewitched him? Had Duke Valhart approved? Was this romantic? Was this improper? Was this dangerous? The answer to most of those questions was yes, but with footnotes. Cassian handled the scandal beautifully, by which I mean 3 gossip columnists publicly apologized within a week. One retired to the countryside, and the most vicious pamphlet writer suddenly discovered a deep passion for silence. I narrowed my eyes at him over breakfast. You said you would not ruin people merely for approaching me. Cassian buttered toast.
They did not approach you. They insulted you in print.
Cassian.
I sent warnings first.
That is not the comforting distinction you think it is. He looked genuinely thoughtful.
I will revise the scale of response.
Progress. Ominous progress, yes, but progress nonetheless. His courtship was equally alarming. He sent flowers. Normal. He sent rare books. Excellent. He sent honey tarts from the same bakery where I had once stolen pastries as a child. Cruel. Emotional. Effective. Then he sent a jeweled hairpin dagger. I held it up in disbelief. This is a weapon. Cassian looked pleased.
A beautiful weapon.
It is a courting gift.
It matches your eyes.
It has a blade.
It has balance.
That is not romance.
It can be both.
I stared at him. He added,
If you dislike it, I will replace it.
I looked at the hairpin. It was beautiful. Also sharp. Also, unfortunately, exactly my taste. I did not say I disliked it. Cassian's smile softened. The wolf had learned many things. Subtle victory was one of them. Courting Cassian was strange because much of the affection had always been there. He had always known how I took my tea, always walked on the street side of the road, always watched the room before I entered it, always remembered that storms made me uneasy. The difference was honesty. Before, every gesture wore the harmless shape of family. Now, when he offered his arm, his gaze asked instead of assumed. When he stood close, he waited for me to stay. When jealousy flickered through his eyes, he swallowed it before it became action. Not perfectly. Cassian Valhart did nothing by halves, including personal growth, but he tried. And because he tried, I saw the shape of what he could become. Not harmless, never harmless, but chosen restraint was not nothing. One evening, weeks into our scandalous courtship, we walked through the temple garden where I had once set my terms. Eleonora joined us briefly, mostly to watch Cassian with the cautious expression of someone observing a sleeping dragon near dry curtains. Cassian bowed politely.
Saintess.
Lord Valhart.
The pause was chilly enough to preserve fruit. I sighed. Please do not start. Cassian looked innocent. Eleonora looked unconvinced. Good instincts. Then Eleonora surprised me by saying,
Lord Valhart, may I ask you something?
You may ask.
Do you love Lisa enough to let her be unhappy with you?
Cassian went still. I looked between them. The question was brutal, necessary. Cassian's gaze shifted to me. For a moment, I saw the old answer in his eyes. No. He wanted to fix, arrange, remove, control. He wanted my happiness like other men wanted crowns. Then he closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the answer had changed.
Yes.
He said. His voice was quiet.
If that is what she chooses.
Eleonora studied him.
So she is not your possession?
Cassian smiled faintly.
No.
Relief touched me. Then he added,
She is my preference, my priority, my weakness, my judge, and the only future I find tolerable.
Eleonora stared. I coughed into my glove. That was almost normal until the end. Cassian inclined his head.
I remain a work in progress.
Eleonora looked at me. I shrugged. Unfortunately, he is improving. Lord Ravel's faction had not been fully destroyed. Apparently, treasonous nobles were like mold. Remove the visible patch, and something unpleasant remained under the wallpaper. Their final attempt was not subtle. They arranged forged documents suggesting Cassian had orchestrated the kidnapping himself to gain sympathy and eliminate rivals. It was clever enough to be dangerous. The prince, who had never liked Cassian, called for an inquiry. The Duke panicked. The Duchess pretended not to. Eleonora sent me a note that read, "Be careful. This feels like a trap." Cassian read the note over my shoulder.
That's because it is.
I turned. You knew?
I suspected.
Cassian.
I did not remove the option before you saw it.
I stared at him. He looked back calmly. Horrible man. Technically obedient. What do you want to do? I asked. His expression flickered. That was new, too. Once, Cassian would have acted and informed me afterward. Now, he was calculating how much truth I could tolerate. All of it, I said. He smiled faintly.
You have become demanding.
You like it?
Very much.
Cassian, he sobered.
There is a man named Halvern, Ravel's former secretary. He forged the documents. If he disappears, the accusation collapses.
I heard the word beneath disappears. No.
I did not say kill.
You thought it very loudly.
Briefly.
Cassian.
He is dangerous.
Then expose him.
That is slower.
But legal.
Legal is not always just.
No, I said, but this time it is enough. Cassian looked toward the window. The old villain would have removed Halvern by nightfall. The Cassian, who loved me, wanted to do the same and call it protection. The man trying to be chosen had to stand there and let the slower road hurt. Finally, he said,
As you wish.
No, I said. His gaze returned to mine. As you choose, I corrected. Something changed in his face. A small thing. A powerful thing.
As I choose.
He repeated. Then he chose. The inquiry became the most elegant public execution I had ever witnessed without anyone dying. Cassian presented evidence before the crown. Not rumors, not threats. Evidence, bank records, witness statements, forgery comparisons. A sworn confession from Halvern, who appeared alive, furious, and surrounded by temple guards. Lord Ravel's remaining allies tried to flee. Eleonora's people blocked the exits. The prince looked as if someone had handed him a poisoned lemon. Cassian stood in the center of the chamber, calm and flawless, and dismantled the conspiracy piece by piece. No shadows, no hidden blade, no mysterious disappearances. Just truth sharpened until it cut. When it was over, the prince turned to me.
Lady Lisa, you cannot possibly intend to bind yourself to this dangerous man.
The room held its breath. There it was, the heroic intervention. The good man asking the endangered woman to step away from the villain. In another story, perhaps I would have. But I knew this one better than he did. I looked at Cassian. He did not move, did not speak, did not try to answer for me. That mattered more than the prince understood. So I turned back to His Royal Highness. "You are right," I said. "Cassian Valhart is dangerous." The prince's eyes sharpened. Cassian's face went still. He is possessive, ruthless, controlling when frightened, and far too comfortable treating noble society like a chessboard that personally offended him. A few people made strangled noises. Cassian's mouth twitched. I continued. But he is also the only man in this room who asked what I wanted and changed his behavior when I answered. The prince flushed.
Lady Lisa.
"No," I said. "You do not get to rescue me from a choice I am making clearly." Silence. My heart thundered. I lifted my chin. "Perhaps, Your Highness, before calling him a monster, you should ask why the monster was kinder to me than the men calling themselves heroes." Cassian looked at me then. Not like a wolf, not like a villain, like the boy in the hallway seeing a hand reach toward him again. The kingdom, poor thing, never stood a chance. Cassian proposed 3 months later, not dramatically, which was suspicious. I found him in the rose garden, standing where I had once confronted him about Victor. The dead blooms had been trimmed, new ones had opened. Red, white, and a soft blush pink I was almost certain he had planted, because I once mentioned liking the color. He held no crowd hostage, arranged no orchestra, threatened no priest growth. He simply turned when I approached and held out a small velvet box.
Lisa.
My heart began behaving like a trapped bird. "That better not contain a weapon." He paused.
It does not.
"Why did you pause?"
Because the ring could theoretically be used as one in an emergency.
"Cassian."
It is a ring.
I took the box. Inside was a silver ring, set with a gray stone that shifted in the light like storm clouds. Beautiful, understated, sharp in a way that felt like him. He did not kneel. Not yet. Instead, he said,
I have loved you badly.
That stole every clever response from my mouth. Cassian looked at me directly.
I loved you as a starving person loves bread, as a prisoner loves a key, as a blade loves the hand that gives it purpose.
The garden seemed very quiet.
I thought if I made the world safe enough, soft enough, controlled enough, you would never need to leave it.
His voice lowered.
I did not understand that walls built for protection are still walls.
My throat tightened.
I am trying, not because trying makes me good, not because I expect it to erase what I have done. I am trying because you asked me to choose, and I want to be someone you can choose in return.
Then he knelt, slowly, deliberately. A wolf lowering its head. A villain offering the only surrender he understood.
If your answer is no, I will accept it.
I believed him. That was why I cried. His face went pale.
Lisa,
You are not supposed to look more terrified of tears than treason.
I understand treason.
I laughed wetly. Terrible man. My terrible, careful, impossible man. I looked at the ring again. In the original novel, Cassian Valhart had become a villain because no one loved him. In this life, I loved him first. It did not make him harmless. It made him careful. And maybe careful was not a fairy tale ending. Maybe it was better. Fairy tales lied too neatly. Careful meant choice, effort, rules, apologies, boundaries. A wolf who could bite but looked first to the hand holding the leash. No, not holding, offered. That mattered. So I held out my hand and offered in return. Yes, I said. Cassian went very still.
Are you certain?
No. His face changed. I smiled through tears. But I am choosing. He bowed his head over my hand like it was something sacred.
I will spend my life making sure you do not regret it.
Good, I said. Because if you start ruining people over flower arrangements, I am returning the ring. His mouth curved.
Define ruining.
Cassian,
I am joking.
you are learning jokes now?
Only for you.
He slid the ring onto my finger, then pressed his lips to my knuckles. Softly, reverently, like a vow, like a promise, like a wolf with excellent posture pretending he had not already memorized the throat of every threat in the garden. Epilogue. Years later, people still whispered about us. They whispered that Duke Cassian Valhart adored his wife. They whispered that I was the only person in the kingdom who could make him pause. They whispered that men who angered me tended to develop sudden legal difficulties. That last one was not always Cassian. Sometimes it was me. Marriage taught us both things. Cassian learned to ask before acting. Mostly. I learned that softness did not mean helplessness. And the capital learned that if Cassian was the wolf, I was not the lamb. I was the woman who had fed him once and then made him sit politely at the table. At a royal gathering one winter, a young noble insulted a servant in front of us. Cassian's eyes went cold. I touched his sleeve. He stopped. Immediately. The noble did not notice how close he had come to becoming a cautionary tale with buttons. Cassian leaned toward me.
You are still too merciful.
And you are still too dramatic.
Only for you.
I looked up at him. The same gray eyes, the same beautiful face, the same dangerous mind. But now, when he smiled, I saw the choice inside it. Not harmlessness. Never that. Cassian Valhart would always be dangerous. But he was no longer a wildfire looking for a world to burn. He was a blade that had learned where not to cut. A wolf that had learned manners. A villain who had decided restraint was worth the woman who demanded it. In the original novel, I was supposed to die as part of his tragedy. In this life, I refused. I loved the lonely boy before the world finished turning him into a monster. And when the monster looked at me years later and asked to be chosen, I did not pretend he was tame. I simply held out my hand and reminded him of the rules. Sometimes survival meant running far away from the villain. Sometimes it meant standing beside him. And sometimes, if you were very stubborn, very lucky, and slightly reckless with pastries, it meant teaching the villain to kneel willingly and place the leash in your hand. Cassian said, I saved him. I disagreed. I did something far more dangerous. I gave him a reason to save himself. And every day after that, he chose to do it again. For me. For us. For the kingdom that survived because my wolf learned one very important lesson. He could bare his teeth at the world, but he came home gentle.
Like the story? Join the Chaotic Novel Club. We meet up every week. See you in the next book. Nibs out.